Call to order the Town of Aspen Planning Commission special meeting of May 13th, 2015. Roll call, please.
Commissioner Grinley,
Yeah.
Commissioner Tinelli,
Here.
Chair Lively,
Yes?
Commissioner Lane,
Here.
and Commissioner Whitmer is excused.
Yes, correct. All right. Public comments for only the items that are on this agenda, because this is a special meeting. Anyone in the audience have any special comments on that?
Which are not.
It's actually clarification from the city
Yeah,
attorney.
it's technically, you can only talk about things on an agenda at a special meeting. They have to be agendized in advance. This is for somebody that, you know, might wanna say something and then leave because they can't stay later. We don't recommend it, but we can't stop them from doing so.
Okay. All right, first item on our agenda is a public hearing, a conditional use permit, 30 Alejandra. Request from Menlo School and Menlo College for a conditional use permit amendment authorizing limited Sunday use for the Cartan Field. Staff report, please.
Thank you. Before I begin the staff presentation, the chair has asked that we use speaker cards this evening, so they are located at the back of the room on the podium. And if you could please fill those out, and then the chair will call you to speak at the appropriate time. Thank you. The item before you tonight is a request to amend the conditional use permit issued to Menlo School and Menlo College in 1965 for Cartan Field. Specifically, the conditional use permit prohibits organized games or other organized group activities on Sundays. The school and the college request the Planning Commission amend this use permit to allow for organized athletic activities on Sundays. The applicant requests the Sunday use be limited to an average of 12 Sundays per year, and that the hours of Sunday usage be limited to 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. Staff has reviewed the request and is concerned with the applicant's suggested limitation, as the enforcement of the average 12 days per year could be somewhat problematic. In considering this request, the Planning Commission needs to make the findings that are listed in your staff report found in the municipal code, that the use will not be detrimental or injurious to persons, property, or improvement in the vicinity, and will not be detrimental to the public health, peace, safety, comfort, general welfare, or convenience, and that the use is consistent with the general plan and the zoning code. As outlined in your staff report, staff is unable to support this request, as the Sunday field use would disturb the neighborhood with additional traffic, noise, and activity, and would therefore be detrimental to the peace, comfort, and general welfare and convenience of the neighborhood. Staff recommends the Planning Commission deny the request to amend the conditional use permit. The applicant is here this evening to present their request, as well as the applicant's noise consultant is here this evening to respond to any questions you have on that study. And I believe the town's noise consultant is here as well, thank you, to answer any questions you may have. Thank you.
Any questions of staff?
This regulation's been placed in 65.
Yeah. We have a copy of that.
The
included in
conditional
packet.
use permit has been in place since 1965. As you see in the staff report, there's been some actions that amended that. There was some parking lot improvements, bleachers that were approved. So there has been some action to modify some of the conditions. However, we were not able to locate any document that modified that Sunday usage limitation.
Okay.
Also, no document that completely superseded this use permit.
Okay.
So it's our understanding that this is the document in effect.
Okay. Thank you.
Great. Any further commissioner comments? Being none, I'll open the public hearing. Mr. Keenan?
Just to speak, you should be fine.
We're good?
Little mic.
All right, I'll speak up.
It's like you're.
Normally, I don't need help anyway. Thank you, Mr. Chairman and members of the commission, particularly for having a special meeting. It's not like you don't have enough of these meetings.
Would you identify yourself?
Excuse me, I'm Chop Keenan, and I'm on the Board of Trustees of Menlo College. Sorry. So again, thank you for making this time for us. The request is basically, as staff indicated, a exception to the 1965 CUP to allow up to 12 Sundays of organized play on Cartan Field. And the master plan, which we submit every year to you, in that update, we've always disclosed that we had Sunday play, assuming that we did have Sunday play. And the only reason I mention that is that, in fact, that master plan update is a prerequisite for you to act on any amendment to our CUP. It would have to be consistent with the existing master plan. So at least we have a foundation for discussion. The issue is pretty clear. The 1965 CUP so far is the law of the land, and it provides that there are no organized activities on Cartan, and we've been in violation of that CUP for at least the last 20 years, unknowingly. We are a residential college, unlike the other schools in town. So we're the only residential institution, not including the Circus Club. They've got the horses, but everybody else, we're the lone nighttime occupants. We are not trying to run a red light. And when we were notified earlier this spring that what we have been doing for the past 25 years was not allowed under the 65 CUP, of course we scrambled to find a CUP that superseded it. It doesn't exist, at least we haven't found it. And we immediately ceased Sunday operation. We handled the college baseball, the balance of that season, by renting some fields, a field in San Bruno, and got our way through the season. I might add that we won our league again. It's a championship team. Once again, it's one of our really stellar sports on campus. Sunday play is allowed for organized sports at Sacred Heart and the Circus Club and MA, and for organized events at Holbrook Palmer Park, with the exception of Little League. And my daughter lives right over the fence in Felton Gables from Holbrook Palmer Park. And there's a nursery school, and there's a lot going on. In fact, the park's booked all summer. Every Sunday we look for some alternate places to avoid having to come to you. Tonight on Bended Knee, but to no avail. So there are two distinct conditions that we want to discuss with you tonight, both of which are completely noise compliant with the town's noise ordinance. So again, we talked about the foundation of our master plan being current and consistent, and that what we're asking for is within your noise ordinance. So we've held two neighborhood meetings on this, what I'll call mini CUP, and heard a number of objections and suggestions. And in the spirit of listening to those, not just simply going to get our position validated, which is often what happens when you make sausage, I'd like to have the commission consider some modifications to our application. The first modification has to do with, we've got two situations. We've got the school year and we have summer. So the first one has to do with the school year, and we would like to modify our request that we will have no scheduled Sunday play. However, if we experience a rain delay or rain out, we need a few Sunday mulligans. And we've already gone to our league and negotiated no Sunday play. So that was our first hurdle. You should be aware that it's about $10,000 for a team to travel to Menlo. Everybody in our league is either in Southern California or Arizona. So it's no small expense. So they show up for a Friday, Saturday series and we get rained out. We're asking for an occasional mulligan for rained out games only. We would agree to call and write and notify the police department and the neighbors if we need one of these school year mulligans. Second situation has to do with the summer. Rightly or wrongly, we entered into some contractual obligations with the JCC, thinking we were allowed to have Sunday play. And notwithstanding a subsequent letter from the city in December 2013, we'd already entered into these contracts with the JCC. So the reality is, within the college, the right hand and the left hand just weren't in sync. And we really have no excuse for not being able to address this sooner. We've been hosting summer camps for at least 10 years that we can document. And as I said, during the school year, for at least 20 years. So let me give you a little color on our summer requests. The JCC is a residential program, so it's like the kids are coming to camp, and they stay in our dorms, and it's years 6th through 10th grade. There are no spectators for their camp activities, and no traffic. So we're asking in this modified proposition that we be allowed 4 Sunday mulligans as follows. We have one camp, which is the AYSO on Sunday, August the 2nd. It's a coaching certification camp. It's not kids, it's adult coaches with no spectators. And they just, it's a coaching camp for coaches. The JCC dates are June the 20th, July the 5th, and July the 19th. We have attempted to find other venues for these 4 dates this summer, including Holbrook Palmer, which I indicated to you already is fully booked every Sunday during the summer. Woodside High, Sacred Heart, and MA. The bottom line is that the camps are an essential part of the financial health of the college. This is basically how we pay our coaches. And so we're really here asking for some help. So to summarize, 2 situations: the school year, no scheduled Sunday play, but if we have a rain out, this year we'd have had none. Drought. Next year we hope we have more. But we would need some Sunday mulligans, and we would like up to 4 dates during the summer. Deborah Chu from WIA is our acoustic engineer, She's in the audience for any of you who want to drill down any further on noise-related issues. I can tell you the cliff notes, however, are that we are completely noise compliant with our existing activities and the summer program with the town's noise ordinance. And that concludes my remarks.
Any questions, Mr. Keenan?
Two, which is the same question. Exactly what did Sacred Heart say to your request for Sunday use? And exactly what did Menlo Atherton say to your Sunday request?
Can you answer that?
Sacred Heart said they were
I'm
unable.
sorry. If you wouldn't mind coming and speaking.
Sorry.
Sorry.
In the microphone,
Identify
identify yourself
yourself.
for the record.
My name is Stephen Weiner, the Executive Vice President at Menlo College. Sacred Heart said they weren't able to tell us what the event was, but that they were unable to rent us the field for any of the dates. Menlo Atherton said they were fully booked. We didn't press them for specific information about the event.
Did you try Encinal or Selby Lane or?
We didn't try Encinal, I don't believe. I didn't personally do this, so and I'm not sure about Selby Lane. I think there was a list. She went well beyond this immediate geographic area, so I think there was a list of something like 7 schools whose fields were the size that we needed for our baseball program, which was the driver, and none of them were available to us.
Thank you.
Can I ask clarification?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Can I just talk, Mr. Keenan?
I'm
Can I ask
sorry.
you a clarification? On your
I'm a little
amended,
deaf.
amended request, I understand the school year request, I would assume would be an ongoing request for the
Correct.
rain out. Is your summer 4 Sundays for this year only, or is the request as an ongoing basis?
It's a good question. In my best of all worlds, it's ongoing, but I would suggest that that's a topic that could be taken up in the larger CUP, which will come to you perhaps in the fall. And so I would like to at least take us through the resolution up or down on the bigger question on the CUP. So
So
we
this
can
summer
live
only
with
is
less
what
than
you're saying?
forever.
So we're confining it to the summer.
So it's desperate this summer and beyond that.
Correct.
Preferred. Okay.
Correct, and thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
May I ask for perhaps staff to read exactly what you think he said?
Well,
Because I'm lost.
Yeah, my question is, are they withdrawing the application for the 12?
Yes, that was my question.
We're modifying, yes.
But this is the only provision that you are putting in. You're not requesting 12 pluses.
No, thank you, no.
So you're
Now, this is,
withdrawing
Whatever you're
substituting these
requesting
days.
is.
This was after listening to the neighbors and trying to find
Yep.
a way to yes.
Okay, can staff tell me what he asked for?
Just for the summer.
Well, so the amendment that I understand is during the school year, they will not have any scheduled Sunday events. However, if there is a rainout and they may need to reschedule for a Sunday, they would appreciate the accommodation. They will notify the police department ahead of time.
And the neighbors.
And for a maximum of 4.
That is not specified how many rainouts.
You
Then the
said a
next
max-
request.
You said a maximum of 4.
No,
No.
no, that's for the summer.
That's the next one.
Oh.
So it's only, during the school year, it would be only rainout events. During the summer, they're requesting 4 Sunday allowances, and they have date specifics on that. August 2nd for AYSO coaching certification, and the JCC camp, June 20th, July 5th, and July 19th. And would that be during the 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. hours?
10 to 5, yes.
Thank you.
What about the Julie Fody soccer and football camp?
We were able to reschedule all other Sunday activities.
Thank you.
So how many school year schedules are there?
we think there's, you-
Around 10 home games, 8 to 10 home games a season.
Okay.
So, but those are scheduled for mostly Fridays and Saturdays?
Correct.
yes,
Could you come to the podium, and also could you specify the sport you're referring to?
I'm gonna get this one right.
The context here is just baseball. That's our only issue
Right.
with respect to Sunday play during fall and spring semesters, and there are 8 to 10 home games a season.
So in a El Nino year, that would be the max.
That would be the max, yes, and that presumes it's an El Nino year in which it's also not raining on Sunday.
Yeah.
So we could
Yeah.
further clarify that during the school year, no scheduled Sunday play. However, if a baseball game rainout is needed,
Correct.
then Sunday accommodation, the college will notify the police department and the neighbors ahead of time.
One just tweak on that, if I may. It's rain out or timeout, since we have to cease play by sundown on Saturdays. Again, we've not encountered that
Timeout
feature.
caused by what?
Darkness.
Bus
Long
breakdown?
game.
Long game,
Darkness.
Or still tied at the end of play?
right.
So it's not a timeout caused by the
Rain.
actions of
Mother
either.
Correct,
Nature.
correct. I mean, yeah, more timed, yeah. We're just covering all our bases there. That's not a frequent
Good pun.
occurrence.
is that a pun?
It is a pun. It wasn't an intended pun, but it is a pun.
Yeah, we're calling it now.
Timeout is an official term used in this sport.
Timed out,
Timed.
yeah, with a D.
They're not, they have
Thank
to,
you.
they have to quit by dark.
Right.
I understand, because there's no lights.
When are high school games called legal? After how many innings?
I'm sorry?
When are high school games called legal, or college games called legal, after how many innings? 6.5, 5.5?
9 innings.
No,
When are they-
when are they a complete game?
You're completed
in
by.
the event of a rain out?
Oh, if there's a rainout and you play 7 innings.
Seven.
7 innings, yeah.
7 innings. And I think you just said something about fall baseball. Do you have fall baseball?
No, the season, it's a winter spring sport. So do we have a game in December? I think the season officially starts in January.
Baseball.
Yes.
So what is the format of your schedule from year to year? You have 8 to 10 home games. Are those spread out over the week? Are they Friday and Saturday so teams can travel?
Correct.
How do you schedule the games through the season?
It's scheduled through our athletic division, which is Golden State Athletic Division for the
Right.
coming year, and it's all the athletic directors coming together and sorting out
Right,
the
but
schedule.
when you host a team, you host them on a Friday game and a Saturday game.
Most of our teams are 2-day games.
Mhm.
To make the
Uh,
$10,000 trip worthwhile.
Exactly right. There are some, that's not all of them. Some games are just a Saturday or just a Friday, but most are Friday, Saturday.
So when you play Friday, what time do you guys generally start on Fridays?
6?
Friday,
Yeah.
12.
Oh, 12 at noon? Noon.
Oh, so you have plenty of time to get a game in before darkness.
Sure.
And then Saturdays, what time?
Saturday would
Are
also.
they noon as well?
11, and usually a double header.
Oh, that's right. For the double, when we're doing the double headers, we started an hour earlier at 11.
Okay.
Which is why I say the timed out incident is almost never.
Right.
Mr. Chairman?
And then
Yep.
there appears to be an occasion in your year where the game was moved to Atherton due to weather at another location? Simpson University on February 7th? So there's a possible situation of additional games to accommodate the other school's request.
It's possible, yeah. I think that's, again, rare exception for us, but yeah.
Question of the applicants. Have the neighbors and opposition seen your new proposal?
Well, they'll speak for themselves.
Have you?
But let me just
officially
say,
opened it to them?
we were trying to tease out yes. And so these ideas have been floated through, but different different individuals had different opinions, and I don't think we had a consensus on any of it.
So if the opposition comes up, they're opposing what we've got in front of us, not what you're proposing. Where are we, council, on this one? I mean,
You've heard that they've essentially amended their request to amend, so they're stuck with the amended version now.
but the opposition has not had time to react to a written amendment.
They will be able to say whether they have or have not when it comes their time to speak, and if they request a continuance, it's up to you.
Thank you.
Would the commission like to hear the official ruling on college baseball and rain? If the game has completed the bottom half of the 5th inning and either team is ahead, it is the final game of the series. The game can be deemed an official game. The leading team is declared the winner, and the game officially counts in standings. However, if the game is rained out prior to the completion of an inning in which the visiting team scored 1 or more runs to take the lead, and the home team has not retaken the lead, the game is suspended to be resumed at a later date.
Except on Sunday.
Never on Sunday.
Never on Sunday. Okay, I'm kind of in a very nebulous position here because we need clarification. Somebody needs to react to a new proposal. I just don't know what to say when you're going to ask me what I think.
Mr. Chair, I think it's, as this goes through its normal iteration, the commission will have an opportunity to ask anybody that testifies a question. And the neighbors or anybody else that wants to testify can certainly come up and say, hey, no fair, I haven't had a chance to review this. And if that's the case, it is certainly within the prerogative of the commission to continue it. However, at this state, there is, unless the commissioners themselves feel like you haven't had time to digest what they're saying, we don't know. I mean, the neighbors may be ecstatic or they may be totally up in arms. We don't know until they get a chance to come forward. I think then you can make your call as to
I'm
what you
still
want to do.
hesitant, counsel, because I haven't seen it in writing. I really spent a lot of time with this stuff.
We've
I need
written
to
it,
look at it in
written it,
writing.
and they're gonna have to live by what we wrote because we read it back.
Yeah, and I want to hear the people who come, so under all conditions, I would want to hear the people who came.
Yeah.
Paul, anything?
No, I want to hear responses.
Thank you.
To what?
Okay, we have one more speaker card. Mr. Thiessen?
Yes.
Can you just shift it over?
Can you
Yeah.
move it on the table? There you go.
Yeah, we go. Thank you, sir.
Is it okay here?
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
I live at 64 Alejandra, and if you're playing soccer and you kick a soccer ball and if it goes over the fence, it goes into my yard. So I have some concerns about Wonderlic, and I haven't heard anything about that, and I would be curious as to what the position was about the use of Wonderlic on Sundays.
Mr. Chairman, Wonderlic is not on the agenda, so we
Okay.
can't talk about it.
Okay, then if we can't talk about that, I'd just like to talk about sports camps, because
Can you speak more loudly, please?
yeah, there's 2 kinds of sports camps that are going on there. Ones are conducted by the school. There's 13 or 14 of those, and they use their own coaches and staff, and they're during the day and during the weekdays. There are then the summer camps that are commercial, that is that, like the JCC, which pays a fee, and I don't know if they use the coaches of the college or the high school or not. I doubt it, but in any event, those are loud, they're noisy, they're a larger population, and they're disruptive. And I knew when I bought that house that there's fields across the street, and even though there's twice as many teams now as there were when I bought, I understand that, and that's okay. But I do think there's a problem with opening up to commercial activity, and I would ask that the Planning Commission take that into consideration And I think in the long run, I think it would make sense to clarify that and to ban that type of activity.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions? Jason? Thank you.
He's trying to get away with our microphone. Don't go far.
The next speaker card is Mr. Rosenberg.
Hi, I live at 1 Brittany Meadows, so I'm not on the wall, so, you know, the other gentleman will speak to that. I will say that Menlo School closes Wunderlicht on Sundays and in the summer, and it's really a blessing. You can have barbecues, you can count on it. I mean, there's been one football camp, but there's no more football at Menlo College. Personally, I feel for the college. I mean, I think they're stuck, and, you know, but because I don't live on that wall, you know, but I certainly feel that the college has certainly, particularly today, offered up, you know, more than they offered up at our meetings. I would like to get a clarification. If there's a Friday and a Saturday rain out, does that mean there's a doubleheader on Sunday? Because a doubleheader would start much earlier and go much longer, might be more disruptive. So, you know, if Chop could give us a clarification on that. Is it just one game on a Sunday? Might make a difference, might not. Thank you.
Thank you.
Did you want me to respond?
Would you like to respond to that?
Simply that we'd have to stay within the 10 to 5.
Pardon me?
We would still have to stay within the 10 to 5 if there was, for some reason, a doubleheader. It's never happened, but
Thank you.
So you're asking for the possibility of having a doubleheader on Sunday?
yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
And the next speaker is Mr. Getty, please.
Sure.
Hi, everyone. I don't know that I like addressing you guys, not everybody else, but I kind of liked it when we were
That's the
over
way
here.
we like it.
You know, I just got to say, I picture myself calling Ed Flynn up on a Sunday and saying we have a problem out here and having him listen to me for 10 minutes to try and paraphrase what all of you have said in terms of defining what he should do in response to anything that we feel is not right. And hell, I don't even know if I would know what's right or wrong given this very confusing discussion of what will be permitted and what's not going to be permitted. So let me just lead with that. I understand we're here tonight to discuss, you know, the prohibition and whether it should be continued or not, but it's very hard for me personally to look at this issue in isolation and not consider the significant encroachments that have been made since the CUP was first allowed in 1964. I mean, my reading of the history is that there have been virtually unilateral concessions given to the schools with very little requirements by the schools to balance those concessions with added investments to the neighborhood of the city. Is there any water here?
Right there.
We don't have it anymore, too much restricted.
There are glasses by the,
You know, I would appreciate that if that's okay.
There seems to be a bottle in
I'm taking the bottle home.
Funny, a little bit of an allergy here, my apologies. You know, we're most troubled by the manner in which the schools are gaining further uses beyond what is currently involved. It appears that they've decided that it's better to ask forgiveness than seek permission. And then once their violations have come to light, it appears that they hope to convince others to grandfather a compromise rather than a full rollback, thereby setting in motion a strategy of slow but relentless expansion on the field at the expense of the neighbors and against the city's stated vision in the general plan. In my view, the strategy of seeking forgiveness and offering compromise solutions on the CUP violations is wrong. I mean, trust is broken when agreements are broken, and in my view, the schools have consciously violated the CUP in more areas than just Sunday activities, and lost the trust of many of us. In a recent meeting that I attended, Chop Keenan asserted that during a meeting or during the understanding that Sunday events were taking place, he indicated the schools were unaware that they were actually violating the CUP. Given the very comprehensive documentation the schools provided on the history of conditional use exemptions, such comments, in my view, are disingenuous and do little to rebuild the broken trust or cause neighbors to have confidence that the schools will abide by any new rules. You know, tonight's main topic, by the way, are written comments in the record?
They're recorded, and the minutes are carried forward.
I also
Your
prepared-
email dated April 28th is
Yeah.
provided to all the commission as part of the packet. It's also on the online version.
Okay.
Yes,
It is in the record.
it is.
Okay, I appreciate that. So in summary, our position is that Sunday is and should be continued as a day of rest and as originally contemplated in the CUP. I mean, we do not find the arguments in favor of the requested exceptions to have merit, and see that any such exceptions are a slippery slope that will create enforcement issues that will further strain relations between the schools, the neighbors, and the local police. The schools have also stated that workarounds are available to them. I think we heard that again tonight. And there are other sports fields certainly that have been used and could be used for Sunday activities. I mean, we have many in the Bay Area. They may not be right next door, but they're certainly available. And in my view, they've not put forward a compelling case of severe hardship if Sunday activities remain prohibited, given the workarounds. I found Richard Thiesing's comments to be especially interesting in pointing out that a large number of the likely planned events for sports will be for sports cams or similar rentals of the fields. Not only do we object to such uses on Sundays, we request that city officials look further into the school's practice of renting out the fields and supporting for-profit sports camps on any days. And there should also be consideration of imposing constraints on sports camps consistent with practices in other communities. In many communities, the commercial nature of sports camps and related rental income results in sports camps activities being classified and treated in a different manner than traditional organized sports. And I'm not sure that's the case here. In conclusion, our hope is that city officials will not reward a policy of conscious past violations by granting any exceptions to Sunday events. Let's keep Sundays the day of rest it was and is intended to be. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions? Anyone?
Do you have any evidence that they knowingly violated the 1965 code?
Well, here's my thought. I've talked with Neil on this subject, and I will say that the evidence that I've seen is anecdotal for me. It's just by observation of looking at the level of infrastructure. First of all, that's the most obvious thing, because I live 6 Brittany Meadows, and I see significantly more infrastructure in place in the field than what I see justified by the CUP documents. Neil has indicated that he's documented those exceptions, and I believe presented that to some of you, or perhaps other members in the city last Wednesday. I could be wrong on that, but he and I talked last week about that. So if there is a report that's pending on those violations, I've asked for that 2 years ago, and he's gotten back to me indicating that he's completed that or is about to complete that.
But do you have any evidence of knowing violations of use of the field on Sundays, to rephrase?
Well, yes. I mean, we've seen, I'm next to the field. I see evidence of Sunday activities, organized activities, and that has been going on. I've only noted it recently, to be real honest with you, because I often travel on Sundays. But now that it's been noted, and it's not, we've had discussions among the neighbors, it's been clearly confirmed, and I think also reported to Ed Flint on occasion.
Thank
And he
you.
was unable to do anything because obviously you get a bunch of adrenaline-charged kids out on the field in the game, you're not going to break it up. So you're stuck with it.
Thank you.
Any further questions? No, thank you.
All right, thank you.
I have no more speaker cards. Anyone else in the audience desire to be heard on this matter? Please come forward and state your name.
Hi, I'm Mike Greenberg. I live at 2 Brittany Meadows. Just like to say, I think, having lived there 16 years, the camps weren't really an issue when we first moved in, and frankly, noise wasn't that much of an issue. It was a small annoyance. things have really deteriorated over that period of time. And especially since the camps have become so active. Because the camps go all day while during the school year, the fields are only used for a couple hours, the camps are much more disruptive. And this really cuts into our ability to use our pools and any of the things in our backyard to a reasonable extent. When you talk about the summers, this would be the time when our pools would be most useful, when we'd like to have a yard party, when we'd like to have, in my case, my grandchildren over to swim and that sort of thing. And it's really pretty difficult to do with the kind of noise that goes on a Sunday. And when you talk about 9 Sundays or 12 Sundays, you're talking about a very high portion of the actual Sundays where that backyard is usable. I mean, the summer is what, 12, 13 weeks is the summer period, and you're taking a pretty fair chunk out of that period of time. I know a few years ago, one of my neighbors wanted to have a wedding in their backyard, not an unreasonable thing to do on a Sunday, and they couldn't do it because of an activity, and I was in a similar situation. I think to say one day a week that yard, that we're freed from that situation, especially with the high noise level that goes on during the summer, is not unreasonable. Okay.
No question.
Yeah, okay. Well, I was gonna make one comment. The revised proposal only has 4 Sundays.
Yes, that's true. Still, it's a third of the summer and plus it has the others, so we're really losing about 7 days in terms of Sunday use. And baseball is a spring summer sport.
So the proposal.
Well, he's still got 7 days of use. I guess he does. We don't know how many days there'd be rainouts on, right?
Well, I'm talking about just the camp usage of 4 days requested for this year,
Right.
as opposed to the 9 you're talking about. So we're talking about.
So 4 days is a third of the Sundays during the summer. I mean, 4 days, if you take the summer, I don't know how many days in the summer, but if you take the summer of, say,
I got it. I got the math.
I'm just saying that we face a high noise situation every single day during the summer those camps are running. To take 4 more days out of that doesn't seem to me to be very fair to the neighbors. I'd also think it would be a reasonable thing, since I understand this can be done at this point in time, for the city to consider these for-profit camps and the use of this field for these for-profit camps, because they're clearly not providing the kind of benefits that Atherton should provide to the neighbors. We all moved there with the idea of knowing the school was there, knowing the college was there, and it was a much better situation when we did move there than it is now.
Thank you. Thank you. Any further comment? Anyone?
Thank you very much.
Anyone else?
Good evening. My name is Richard Moran. I live on 98 Leon Way, and I too join the Menlo College campus and Menlo School, and I'm also the president of Menlo College. And I'd like to go on record and have the Planning Commission entertain the notion that there's a distinct difference between Menlo School and Menlo College. 2 that come to mind are that in our athletics program, we're not playing a high school that's further down the road in Atherton or Menlo Park. We're playing colleges that visit from, in some cases, from all around the country, especially to play baseball. So if you're a baseball team in North Dakota, you come to places like Menlo College in the spring to play baseball. So that's one reason why we are looking for this exemption. And the second reason, the second notation that I'd like the Planning Commission and the town to consider is that we are a residential campus. So on a Sunday or all weekend, our students are on campus because that is their home as well. So in this case and in others, as you consider requests from the college, I'd like you to take into consideration that there are specific differences between the school and the college, and our needs over time are just going to be different because the needs of a high school and a college are in fact different. Thank you.
Thank you. Any further comments? Anyone, please?
I have a question of the applicant.
Go ahead.
To follow up. So I need to understand more about how the sport camps work. I understand we're talking about an exception for 4 days now rather than the whole thing, but I want to understand what the format of the camps are overall. So are they every day during the week, and this is the 7th day that they're playing? Is that what the deal is?
I think they come in.
So they're
He's trainable.
sorry?
He said you're trainable. That's good.
Yeah. So there are different camps in another pun unintended, in play. The JCC camp happens to be the one that has a Sunday use that we had committed to. They don't play on Saturdays. We have some other camps that may. We have, I don't know, around 12 different programs over the course of a summer. Not all of them are athletic. They come and they go. It is part of our effort to utilize our campus and provide a way to support the students who are in our dorms, our students, by the fact that the camps and other programs are in existence. We're able to provide the infrastructure to support the few students of ours who continue through the summer.
All right, so how many days during the summer is a camp going on, scheduled now?
Sports camp,
Any.
or any camp, it could be all seven days a week for between about May 15th and August 2nd.
Okay.
But
Yeah.
but some of those are classroom based.
How many times is the field used? I'm trying to respond. I'm trying to get the context for what we talked about backyard.
How much
and
field
area.
use we have?
Right.
Maybe it's most intense. The JCCs are most intensive use of the fields, and they're there for 6 weeks, 3 2-week periods,
For 7 days a week,
6 days a week,
including Sunday.
Sunday through Friday inclusive. Yeah,
So Saturday's the only day they're off?
correct.
Why is that?
They observe the Sabbath.
Oh, because they're.
The J is for Jewish.
Okay.
Along the same lines, what kind of activities then are they participating in the JCC camps specifically?
They
'Cause I'm not
have
familiar with the camps, so
the-
I don't know what
the-
kind of
the-
activities they're doing.
their primary focus is to provide sports engagement for their participants. And it's a variety of sports: soccer, tennis, basketball, baseball, primarily. But they also have classroom experience. They have outdoor experience where they have picnics. They do a Shabbat every Friday night. It's a variety of experiences that are part of that program.
So when you've observed them using the field in the past, are they spread out among the 2 baseball fields and the football field? And
No, they're generally on that field on Carton. They will generally either use the college baseball field, and it's small groups at any one particular time, around 15 kids. Again, as Chop said, between 6th and 10th grade, and then some of them will also use the football field for soccer play.
What happens on Saturday of that week? The weeks they're there.
They have no organized athletic activity. They will have prayer sessions, study sessions, but no athletic activity on Saturday.
How is the field used on Saturdays by the school, if at all?
During the summer, we don't. For college students, we aren't using the field until August, when our students return for practice.
So are the fields used on Saturday?
But occasionally by some other camps that we host.
Okay, so this is all right. So this, for what it's worth, this is part of the spool that I think the neighbors go through. So again, I'm trying to figure out the actual number of days that a neighbor would hear noise over a fence. That's the outcome I'm looking for. All right. So I know that you've got all the parts of all the answers, but I'm not hearing an answer that 64 days out of the 70 days of the summer there's noise. That's what I'm looking for. if you say 30 days, I get it. If you say 65, I get it. But I'm trying to figure out, if you were on the other side of that fence, how often do we hear noise in the field?
So unfortunately, we didn't come with that. I can give you an educated guess, just based on what I know about the schedule. It's probably between, again, May 15th and August 2nd. It's probably around 50 days.
That's during summer, yes.
Yes, of summer only.
Is your question confined to summer?
No, that is this summer, as an example. Every
Yes,
summer.
and no, I'm sorry. I was referring to this summer, and thank you. I was prompted to point out that that's not all day. I would say most of the activities between 10 and 3.
But what you're asking for in this amendment is a change for this coming summer,
For Sundays only,
for Sundays only.
and only for 4.
That's all.
Correct. Just for 4 Sundays.
And Sunday constitutes X to Y dates, which are?
June 20th, July 5th, July 19th, and August 2nd.
July 5th is a Friday.
And August 2nd was the AYSO coaches camp,
Correct.
is that right?
Correct.
And then what kind of activities are they participating in?
They do drills. It's basically to.
Is that confined to the football field?
No, it's football field and the college baseball
Okay.
outfield.
Chairman? The issue of financial strain came up, and that you said, I believe, your coaches are paid from some of these monies that come in from private camps?
Some of the camps, our coaching staff are employed by some of these camps, and it provides some salary supplement for them. Yes.
Of your general operating budget, what percent, I know this is going to be a guess, of the total revenues are represented by the income from these private camps?
Around 5%.
Okay, thank you.
Follow-on question. Go ahead. All right. So let me play out one of the dates you highlighted. All right, July 5th. All right. July 5th then is a weekend that chances are the 6th or the 3rd is a holiday, and that would be a weekend where you'd expect to have families in the backyard in this neighborhood. All right. So that one in particular, I can think of. I have to look at all of them, but that one in particular is a neighborhood day. All right. So I would ask if there are, if not directly baseball activities that could be done on those days, but other types of activities that are related to getting in shape for baseball that can be done in one of the fields across the street in a soccer field or something like that, where the Sunday would not be used. You would not be in non-conformance of your contract, but we would not be extending the time for noise for the neighbors. All right, so those are the kind of things that I'm looking at.
The question is, can we just operate on the football field on Sunday?
As it happens, introducing yet another wrinkle in the story, Wunderlich is under construction this summer, so it's not a backup that's available to us. One thing we could do, though, is constrain the JCC camp on July 5th to the football field, which is more protected and.
Right.
Mr. Chair, while you're up, I would note June 20th is a Saturday. So
Sorry,
that's a
so sorry,
June 21st.
So it must be
is
June
a Sunday
21st
and
then.
Father's Day.
Okay.
Hey, for sake.
FTV gets the day off. All right. That's what I got the information I needed. Thank you.
I would want to reiterate, though, all of this is within being noise compliant. So we're not looking to break that ordinance.
Yeah.
And pretty bright line there.
Right.
Now, if you brought that noise compliance up, let's open it, let's talk about that a bit. When you say noise compliant, what do you mean, the 60 decibel?
It's ambient +5.
Because,
That's your ordinance.
because your ambient is over?
It's,
You get
I
5
can
more.
let the expert speak to this. Deborah Jew is in the audience. But I think our ambient is 60,
Ranges from 61 to 67, depending on where you are in the field.
Well, I'd like to talk about
so 61 at the quietest point. But let's have Deborah.
because that's a sticking issue with the neighbors.
So good evening, planning commissioners. My name is Deborah Jew, and I'm a principal with Wilson Erig and Associates. I've been with Wilson Erig for this is my 25th year with the firm.
The way I say that is over 10, so then nobody knows.
I've been retained on behalf of Menlo School and Menlo College to evaluate noise at Carden Field. Would you like me to address this particular question only, or would you like a general overview of the analysis?
I've looked at the report fairly thoroughly,
Mhm.
and I've got some questions about the report. For example, where were the measurements taken? It says adjacent to the baseball field. Our ordinance says it's supposed to be on the property line for the receiving noise. Was it on the fence line, or where was it? Where were those?
Well,
locations?
in the last document, I believe in your packets, is our report from the baseball game. I believe it's the last 3 or 4 pages of your packet. And on that figure, I show location 5 and 5A, which is where the noise measurements were made. They are taken as close as practicable to the property line. And the reason why they were not on the fence or right at the fence is because many of the fence line has they're not all just chain link fences, right? So there's like a canvas or some other that reflects sound back to the microphone. So it's standard practice to measure 3 to 5 feet away from such a solid object.
So you don't get bounce back noise off
That's
the
right.
wall. Okay.
That's correct.
Okay, I've noticed in a couple places where it shows on the charts there were activities from the college, and clearly those activities raised the noise level substantially because of the noise indications rise right with it. As an example, location 3C, February 12th to 18th,
Yes.
has that very same thing showing. Furthermore, you chose a weekend that had a holiday in it, and it doesn't. It shows college activities in the holiday in one chart, but doesn't show it on another. So those little errors kind of bother me. What happened?
Sure. As you might recall from, let's see here, the back in attachment C, there's our report from April 23rd where we summarize the noise measurements and measured at the perimeter of the Cartan Field along El Camino Real, along the north side, and then along the western side of the property. And so let me address your question about the figure that you're seeing where you see noise events that are varying in time, correct? So the notion that we're looking at here is that, you know, the noise ordinance, Atherton noise ordinance, is applied to maximum continuous sound or repetitive peak levels. So continuous sound sources, for instance, would be air conditioning, pool pump noise, fans, and that kind of thing. The sound from Cartan Field, you know, these existing activities at Cartan Field are, you know, they're episodic. They're intermittent noise from players, coaches, birds, and you know, spectators, referees' whistles. And for this reason, we evaluated the noise both in the ambient condition and for specific events like the baseball games on a repetitive peak basis, so that we're comparing, you know, what are the existing. We weren't looking at what's the existing continuous noise compared with with a time varying event. We're looking at what's the existing time variation via the repetitive peak level, and what's the existing, and what is the event repetitive peak level. So with regards to your question on that figure, as an example, on page 5 of the April 23rd report, perhaps after to figure 2. Is this what the one you're looking at, sir? So, you know, the activities, in this case, location 3C, which was northwest side of the property, and we could tell from recordings that we had noise loggers, and for the purposes of being able to identify whether a sound was related to the school or not, we made brief sound identification recordings. And these times on figure 2 that are in purple correspond to known scheduled activities on the field, where there's also a recording that said, oh, okay, this yell was sports. Or you know, there might have been another one that was, car or something. There are other times when it was not something, it was a bird, and the bird is not a Cartan field event. If there's not a corresponding mark at another location at the same time, it is probably because there was no identifying event at that time that was related to the field. Maybe at this moment in time, these very compressed plots, maybe at 12:05 at location 3C was a yell from the Menlo School baseball game. Maybe at location 5 at the same time it was a bird. So that would be one reason. So to clarify it and to not automatically assume that it's an error.
I have another question.
Sure.
Your readings were all taken from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m.
Mm-hmm.
But our ordinance says in order to get the ambient noise level, it has to be taken from 7 to 10 p.m. Why did you leave off the last 3 hours?
Well, the activities at Cartan Field occur between 7 a.m. and 7 p.m., so it's appropriate to measure the ambient between those hours. And I think that the way that you just worded the question makes me think that we have a slight difference of opinion on the wording of the noise ordinance. So the noise ordinance is applicable between 7 a.m. and 7 p.m.
It says it'll be measured between 7 a.m. and 7 p.m.
No, I don't think that's correct.
No, it says 60 dBA between 7 a.m. and 10 p.m.
Right.
But
Right.
the ambient is measured during a particular time period when the activity is taking place. So you would measure your Cartan activities against the ambient during the time when the activities are taking place.
I'm not sure I agree with that, because if you take the full time from 10 p.m., the last 3 hours are quiet time. And that lowers the threshold for the ambient quite a bit.
But
That's
the
20%
activities
of
aren't-
readings.
The activities aren't taking place during that time, so you wouldn't
Doesn't
want to
make a
measure them
difference.
against.
Chair, she's correct. The way our noise ordinance reads is, if during an activity, the ambient noise level is measured and it's higher than our noise ordinance normally would have a threshold, then you take the ambient at the time the activity is going on and you add to it.
Right, 5.
Because if you did that, I mean, theoretically, at 10 o'clock at night, there's no activity going on, so we're not
Right.
measuring them. We don't care what they're doing, because their contribution to noise is 0.
But
So-
I thought our noise ordinance read, you read that from 7 a.m. to 10 p.m., and that's the average ambient noise level to meet
I
that.
don't get that, but I think that the reason it says that is because there's some things like football games that theoretically, if they had lights, would go later.
Go away with that.
Some special events could go later, so you have to measure the ambient noise. After 10 o'clock, we kind of throw that out the window and it's time to go to bed.
Or you can get as noisy as you want.
Yeah.
Theoretically.
Okay. The other question I have is on a noise level. Let's go. Here it is. On page 18, which is location 4, along along Middlefield, or along El Camino, from 9 a.m. to 7 a.m., 7 p.m. in 2-minute intervals, the 5th of February.
Yes.
And it all looks the same. And those of us that live here know that in the morning on El Camino it's fairly quiet. How do those readings come out that way?
So let me go back to the concept that the method that we're doing to evaluate the repetitive peak, right? The values that you see in these figures, these are not the full range of sound levels. They're not going from the quietest quiet to the maximum sound. These are the maximum values in every 2-minute period. So that, let's say at 8 in the morning, you might start off at 35 dBA. A car goes by, it goes up to 80. Okay, we're documenting the maximum noise level in 2-minute intervals. So for 2 minutes, if there was no traffic, then the noise level was low. And in this case, maybe around 70. That means on El Camino, within these hours, there's always some bit of traffic. That's some bit of traffic, or El Camino is dominated by traffic, so that's.
So these are snapshots of 2 minutes of time?
That's correct. Well, they are the maximum level for each 2-minute interval. That means that noise is continually monitored, and then whatever the max level occurred, whether it occurred at the beginning of the interval or at the end, that's the one that's kept, and then continue on forever. And then once all those levels are documented, then we took the energy average of those values.
Okay. And then the 2 minutes are back to back to back to back. There's no interval between them.
That's correct.
Okay, got it. It's like a series of snapshots, like a film.
Sure.
Film. Okay, got it.
But all the minimums fall out.
I'm sorry?
The minimums fall out. They're not used.
That's correct.
Okay.
Because we're looking at the repetitive peak.
Okay. Any further questions, anyone? All right, thank you.
Good job on that. Thank you.
Anyone else desire to be heard in this matter? Commissioners, anyone? If not, I'll close the public hearing and bring it back to the commission for comments. I'm going to think about it a bit.
I can go if you want somebody to go. So there's a couple things. First of all, I appreciate the school's approach to the fact that you just said Mayakoba and that needs to be fixed. A couple things. I don't understand how this slipped through our enforcement process. So that part of it I don't quite understand. If it's a thing that's on the books.
We're complaint based. If we didn't get a complaint, we didn't enforce.
Okay.
We also didn't have the 1965 use permit readily available.
Okay.
Until the school did some digging and provided it to us, I believe, in 2013.
Okay, good. So that's another thing on behalf of the school. I think again what we're coming up against is a sort of an ongoing history of the relationships with the neighborhood, and this happens to be another incident that brings up that relationship issue over time, right? So I think it's getting better in terms of the approach for sure in the last year and a half, and as I mentioned before here, I came here with no idea of the relationship of this neighborhood with those schools. So I live on another side of Atherton and had no idea that this was a phenomenon that was going on. But I have learned that there's been an issue of trust in terms of the approach. So I applaud the improved approach. I see two elements here that are a factor. One is the rain out rule or request, and the second is the summer activity. So the more I learned about the summer activity, the less comfortable I was with the exceptions, because for me, if it was just 4 Sundays, then it seemed plausible. But as I learned about the overall timeline of the noise and activity, then it got to be more troublesome. And I think it's manageable, frankly, by the school in a different format. I'm not comfortable with that change at all, provided there's not more specific information that would make it so that there were periods of times where people could actually use their backyard during the summer. The other rain delay issue for me is something I think that we could look at for a period of time, or at least I could consider, if it had a maximum number of days. So for example, if we said a maximum of 4, then the school would be as motivated to make sure that there was as much forecast accuracy and management of the probabilities to make those 4 count, for example. And that would be a situation where I could see that the neighborhood would say, okay, well, you know, we're trying to balance off the needs of the school with the needs of the neighborhood, and as long as you don't abuse it and it's a limited thing, I can live with that, and then we'll monitor it after that period of time to see if it's managed well enough. I think all this comes back down to how the school manages the relationship and manages the use of those fields. And what we're seeing is the reason we're here, I believe, is because it hasn't been great. And maybe recently it's been better, but somewhere along the line it wasn't as inclusive. And so there was 20 years to fix this, and you know, whatever the timeline of this application is to sort of recover from that. So I'll listen to the other members of the commission to get some more ideas around it. But right now, I would be recommending that the school do everything it can to modify the thinking of the people who have contracts with you, how they use the Sunday, considering the neighbors, and considering the group it is. I'm sure they would want to be thinking about that. And then I'll listen to the commission on the ideas on the rain delay exception.
Well, I'll chip in next. I can understand the rain delay. I agree that I think there should be a number of days used for the rain delay. On the issue of how many Sundays are used, I'm a little confused on which Sundays are used by whom, and so I would suggest that the college come back to us with a schedule, a real schedule, of how this summer is going to look, how many days and what times are going to be used for the weekends, so we can see what it's going to be, and the neighbors can see what it's going to be, and that would be a schedule that would be cast in concrete and done for this year. However, that's only a patchwork. It only does it for this year. We've got to figure out a way to go on in the future so this doesn't come back all the time, and the neighbors have an idea that they're going to have some kind of protection for their summer events in the neighborhood. So my request would be to the college is to bring back as quickly as you can to us a schedule showing the exact use of the fields this summer, so we can do something with this and understand what it is, and we'll deal with it in that way. Paul?
And the issue of on the issue of the rain delays, I understand that and generally in favor of that. I would propose limiting it to 1 game to eliminate the possibility of a doubleheader. I don't know what kind of a hardship that puts on other teams in the league, but I think it's kind of a compromise. And I would also, and I hate to keep adding to this, but I would also suggest that maybe we limit it to noon to 4 on Sunday. I think that's enough time to get a ball game in, and I just think that's reasonable. I think that gives us Sunday mornings, gives the neighbors Sunday mornings privately in the case of a rain out if the game's going to be played. And I think it's reasonable, and I think it's a compromise. As far as the camps are concerned, generally I'm against the use of the park on the Sundays for the camps. Again, in the interest of being good neighbors, I'm trying to think of compromises and solutions here. And the only thing I could think of would be, well, first of all, you look at the dates. One is a Father's Day, and the other is on 4th of July weekend. And those are both kind of, could be family days, backyard days, as Eric had mentioned earlier. And I'm looking at the map and I'm thinking, is there a way to, number one, limit activity if we were to do camps on Sundays to just the eastern side of the field, being the tennis courts and the football field, and not use the baseball fields at all, and use the baseball fields as a sound buffer for the neighbors. And I don't know how that would sit with the neighbors, we'd have to get feedback. The other thing I was thinking of, is there any way contractually with the school to work with JCC, take those hours from Sunday, put them in during the week, and contractually make them do the camps from Monday through Friday? I don't know if that's possible. That would be another suggestion that I make.
Or Monday through Saturday. Oh, they
But
can't do Saturday.
they're not doing
Can't do
Saturday, yeah.
Good point.
Well, in a matter of law and a matter of general plan, it's pretty clear. No Sunday. What I appreciate your offer of, let's call it a compromise. However, my brain doesn't work very fast, so I would like to see that in writing, and I would like to see something that the neighborhood was noticed on that, and that you met with them one or more times to talk about their feedback, because that could start a slippery slope, and I'm just very worried about that. So as I read what you put before us today, because I can't grasp all that, I'd have to vote with the staff and prohibit an amendment.
I've got one more comment. I think that separate of this cycle, there needs to be a consideration of the school, of the consideration of the neighborhood during the summer. So the fields during the summer are optimized for the benefit of the school, without consideration for the benefit of the neighborhood. All right, so schedules are made that are just basically wall to wall, because that's the only time we can make money. And I get that, and for those of you who've been here before, I was on a school board for 8 years. I understand that. I'm a big school district. So the thing I think that has to be considered is, when that schedule's put together, who is thinking about, would this be a good thing for the neighborhood too? And my submission is, at this point, based on the data I have, it's nobody. Everybody said, hey, this week is open, and yes, 4th of July, take it. And this weekend's open, and yes, Father's Day, let's take it. So nobody said, shouldn't we have some fallow time for the neighbors? Why don't we not have this week used? Why don't we not have that week used? And the answer that I'm only hearing back is because it would cost us. And I would submit that it costs you either way, as we're seeing tonight. So I just would suggest that you think about that.
Well, what would you like to do from here now? The question is, should we look for a continuance and ask the school to come back with a schedule and a plan to meet with the neighbors between now and our next meeting, whenever that might be? Comments, Matt?
And I won't be here in the June meeting.
Pardon me?
I won't be here for the June meeting.
Yeah, well, we might do another special meeting.
Yeah, that's a good point. I have time during June if we have a special meeting. Particularly
Comments?
When is the next hearing?
The next regular meeting of the Planning Commission is May 27th.
May 27th.
Next week,
Come back.
2 weeks.
2 weeks.
2 weeks.
Which means they could be noticed probably, right?
We can continue it to a date specific.
Okay, good.
If we continue it, are we looking for more feedback from neighbors regarding the new plan? Is that what we're looking for?
Hopefully, that would be something we should try and get.
It would be, Mr. Chair, it would be a public hearing, continued, so since this is new information, when you have the hearing, it has to be open for the public to comment as well.
We could also, because I understand the neighbors' input is important to the
Yes.
commission, we could provide a notice of that meeting
In timely fashion.
in a timely fashion, outlining the revised proposal
That'd be
for
great.
the May 27th meeting.
That'd be great.
That works.
But together with that, I'd like to have a schedule from the college on what this summer's gonna look like by day. The use points, how many Sundays, how many Saturdays, and the times. You must have it done now. You must know when the school's gonna be used. We'd like to see it.
I move, you want a motion?
Do you agree
Sure.
with the continuance?
I move that we continue to the meeting.
No, I was just wondering, the parameters of the calendar being from now through the end of August, or June, July, and August, or June, July to mid-August, or just while school's out of session?
When does school start again? When does the college start again?
The classes start on August 21st, but we have the athletes arrive 2 weeks in advance of that.
So if you're looking for, the
Let's
next
say
3 months.
through September 1st. Now through
Yeah.
September 1st.
We'll agree to a continuance to May 27th.
All right.
Very good.
Thank you.
I move that we continue this item to the regular scheduled planning commission meeting of May 27th. This year.
Was that, Mr. Chair, was that with a request that they provide the schedule for the entire summer for you and the neighbors?
Correct.
Yes,
Correct.
that's correct.
And I've seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion is carried and is continued to our May meeting. All right? Thank you all for coming.
Thank you.
Thank you.